There's one reason Jake Paul might defeat Tyrone Woodley. It's coming up this Sunday. It looks like a tough fight either way, actually, because it depends on what both fighters bring to the table. But there's one thing that Jake Paul has over Tyrone Woodley. That is the killer instinct. Tyrone Woodley has kind of been shy as a fighter many times in his career. He's a great athlete. He got muscles, no doubt. Very explosive, trains pretty hard. But there's something that oftentimes fighters underestimate, and that's the killer instinct. We all know fighting is as close as it gets to our roots of being aggressive animals. So that's probably why it's one of the most popular sports in the world. It's as real as it gets, as the UFC would say. So one of the realest things, of course, that most people try to suppress is that we have a killer instinct. Very rare is it that we see this in fighters, actually, or sports people. So we have some fighters that epitomize this, like Mike Tyson in his heyday, or Manny Pacquiao in his heyday when he was knocking people out with straight lefts all day long, or Francis Ngannou. So it's rare to see like someone with a killer instinct that's focused, because oftentimes when they have that killer instinct, they become unfocused. They're all over the place. They can't control their emotions. And people like Conor McGregor, for example, they just fall off because eventually they can't control their emotions. They're just all over the place, and they don't focus that energy and killer instinct into training. At some point, obviously, he did, because he had probably the best straight left in the business for many years. Conor McGregor did, very similar to Manny Pacquiao. So you have these fighters that have killer instincts that are just going for the knockouts, and they train those punches like hundreds of times, thousands of times. Every single time they throw, they use that killer instinct within it. So Tyrone Woodley is not a guy that trains like that, and he doesn't act that way in the cage. So that's why I give Jake Paul a decent chance at beating Tyrone Woodley, depending on who shows up. Tyrone Woodley might actually come into this fight with a little bit of rage, a little bit of anger, a little bit of killer instinct, if you will, because as you've seen, Jake Paul has been inciting him, and that's actually against him. That's not for his favor. You know, sometimes when great fighters like Mayweather go to other fighters into being aggressive, that's for them, because Mayweather likes to back away and pop shot people as they come in. He's a counter puncher. Jake Paul really isn't that good of a boxer. He's more of like a brawler fighter, and he's got like some aggression. He's got a little bit of a killer instinct. So what he did with Tyrone Woodley, starting fights in the press conferences and trying to get like this tattoo thing going, a bet like whoever loses the fight has to get the other opponent's name tattooed on their body. That's just pissing off Tyrone Woodley. So we might actually see Tyrone Woodley actually show up for a fight for once with a killer instinct, trying to knock out Jake Paul. So you have to watch the fight, tune in on Sunday, and it'll probably be a good fight. And I give Jake Paul a good chance of winning if Tyrone Woodley shows up as the usual Tyrone. He better call Tyrone, because it'll be a long night for him if he doesn't show up to fight and to really take it to Jake Paul. And that way he can lose the fight. And it should be a good fight either way. I'll check in and tune into the fight for sure. That's a summer blockbuster, they're saying. Like Tyrone Woodley likes to say, it's the biggest fight of the year. When he's like a no-name, so who really cares, Tyrone? You could call Tyrone like the song says. And Jake Paul, he'll be making a lot of money from it. I wouldn't be surprised again if he wins, just like how he beat Ben Askren. So stay tuned. Jake Paul making history. The Paul brothers. I know you hate them, but they're better boxers than most of you guys out there.